4, 3, 2, and go.
The Girl with the Buddha Tattoo. Part 1. Awakening. Read by the author, Dasha Love Kuzmenko. Nothing has a greater, longer-lasting impression upon another person than the awareness that someone has transcended suffering, has transcended circumstances, and is embodying and expressing a value that inspires and enables and lifts the lives of others. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen Covey. Chapter 1. Life-transforming events. It happened suddenly, without any prior signs. It was March of 2014. That day, my mom collapsed on the bathroom floor, screaming in agonizing pain. She clutched tightly at her stomach, yelling, her voice saturated with pain. "Help me! Help me! Help me!" My terrified dad, Igor, dialed 911 for the first time in his life. And in his thick Russian accent, voice shaking, he blurred into the phone, "Help! Come quickly. My wife just passed out." And then gave the operator our home address in San Jose, California. This would turn out to be our family's first trip to the ER. I wasn't present on that day because I was in New York on business, which was often the case. I traveled regularly, meeting with clients across the US, Barcelona, and Israel. When I heard the news about my mom, I caught the first plane out to San Francisco. After the 6.5-hour flight, the longest flight of my life, I jumped into a taxi, heart racing and anxious to see for myself what was going on. That moment, the moment I walked into my mom's hospital room, my body went into shock. My mom was lifeless, just laying there. Mom's once luscious, thick black hair gone, reaped with a shaved head, her barn skull piercing me. My sister Masha sat beside my mother. Masha's eyes were red and swollen from the never-ending stream of tears. Her usually cheery disposition sucked out of her. She looked as if she hasn't slept a wink in days. All kinds of thoughts ferociously raced through my mind, and my knees were vibrating. My feeble body was shaking on the verge of passing out. The only question I could ask my sister at that moment was, what happened? She was fine before I left to New York, and now she's not? I lost control of my pitch, and I guess I was screaming at an already overwhelmed Masha. I knew I had to calm down and compose myself, but that moment, it was all I could do to keep standing upright. Somehow, I managed to breathe through the distress. My sister took me outside to explain. Mom has stage 4B cervical cancer. They don't know why or how, but they have recommended that we begin chemotherapy immediately and that's why I've shaved her head." She paused for a moment and then nodded. "Nobody can guarantee results after the chemo and radiation." She made sure that sank in, and it did. Yet, I couldn't really accept this new reality. Too sudden, too surreal. "Wait, what? Cancer? What does that mean?" I questioned her frantically. "Dash, you need to calm down," she said quietly, yet firmly. "I don't have any more answers right now." My mind went into overdrive. I had many more questions. How did this happen? Why is this happening to me? Oh, my mom. Oh my God. Is she gonna die? What do we do? How can we help? Neither of us could wrap our head around this idea and what this diagnosis meant and the impact it would have on our lives. Could you imagine getting those type of news? You never really expect these kinds of news, and no one ever prepares you for it. They don't teach you how to deal with sickness or what cancer even means. You can't plan life avoiding bad things from happening to you, no matter how hard you try. Growing up in the former Soviet Union, my family didn't believe in visiting doctors. We were immigrants. Our family moved from Kazakhstan to Israel in 1994 and then to the amazing Silicon Valley in the United States in the year of 2000. My sister and I were raised with an extremely negative view of modern medicine. We had an understanding in my family that doctors often do more harm than good. So we arrived at the conclusion that our bodies were capable of healing themselves naturally, all on their own. We were not encouraged to receive regular wellness exams. And perhaps our rejection of regular checkups proved to be detrimental in this situation, because a routine gynecological exam would have detected cervical cancer at an earlier stage. So perhaps our deeply ingrained beliefs about Western medicine projected back at us. After a complete examination and diagnosis, my mom was given only 6 months to a year to live. Can you imagine receiving these types of news from your doctor? Devastating, earth-shattering. What the hell do you do? It's hard on everyone, especially the person that receives an expiration date on their lifespan. So, what do you do when you hear such a pronouncement? You have 6 months to 12 months to live. You begin copiously searching every possible scrap of information about a cure. You have to be optimistic, even though you have no idea what you're doing. Due to the severity of Mom's condition, chemotherapy and radiation began right away. We had 6 months. It was do or die, no wasting time. For the first few months after diagnosis, my sister and I took the reins for caring for our mom. I would assist as I traveled back and forth from my San Francisco home to my family's home in San Jose. Mom was still mobile at this time, and we were very optimistic. In the second month after Mom's diagnosis, we changed our diets. We implemented everything we had learned. The first organ to be affected by the cancer was her kidney. What happens is, different parts of the body begin to malfunction when your system begins to shut down. That's what happens when disease takes over. When her left kidney began to shut down, we rushed to the ER for an operation, and the doctors immediately swung into action. They operated on her as quickly as possible to save her kidney. 3 weeks after the operation, during a follow-up examination, it was discovered that the surgeons had operated on the wrong kidney. Our worst fears of modern medicine became a reality. Can you imagine for a second how my mom must have felt? Can you imagine being in constant pain without any signs of relief? Although the doctors frantically took all possible corrective actions, our poor mommy was left battling stage 4 cancer with not just one, but 2 bad malfunctioning kidneys. It was like a science experiment gone wrong, only the kind of experiment where human life is affected by another's costly mistake. 3 months went by, and my sister and I were running our home as efficiently as a well-oiled machine. We got juicing supplies daily from the Whole Foods, Sprouts, and the farmer's market. Every morning we fired up the Jack Lilana's power juicer, ready to fuel Mom's body with real medicine. At the same time, we fostered a close relationship with the Russian community, who provided most of the resources we needed. They showed up to help clean the house and do the dishes, and showed us so much love. One cloudy day in April of 2014, while still shuttling between San Francisco and my home in San Jose, alternating between working and supporting my mom, I remember looking at my work calendar with exhaustion. The meetings that once excited me suddenly lacked meaning. Living in a high-rise apartment in San Francisco, overlooking the Bay Bridge and the beautiful ocean, which once was my dream, drained me emotionally and became a torture for me because it separated me from spending more quality time with family, especially my mom, who needed me the most.